All right, I'll just start off by quickly addressing the removal of Bryson Parker, dismissed for violation of team rules, and that's all I'm going to say about it. So no sense in asking about it, but as a team, I know we need to keep moving forward, and the situation there, it's a guy off the roster. We gotta move forward and not worry about what we don't have. So, all in all, I think we're almost 2 weeks into it. I think I feel really good about our continued progress as a football team, and it's a lot of individuals that need to keep making progress for us to get to that point that we need to be come the end of the month. Specifically speaking of the defensive backs, a group that it doesn't have any returning starters necessarily. I know Caden was a starter and has started at times, but not a full year starter. I know Taki started a game, but that combination again of Caden, Dowler, Taki Lulikepa, and Taden Gray, really think highly of what they've been able to do here in a couple weeks. And then, emerging behind them, I know I would have spoke to them a little bit in the spring. Both Coulter Petrie and J.J. Dolan, two in-state guys to continue to make the progress they need to put themselves in position. Additionally, Bryant Meredith, a guy that we brought in back mid-year, I think continues to make the strides. So, those are the top six right now, and I think we feel better about how that group is coming together now, certainly than we did a couple weeks back. I know at the corner position, we've talked a lot about that young talent that's in that redshirt freshman class, and talking about Jace McMillan and Carson Williams and Seth Johnson, those three in particular, they continue to make the strides. And then in Takari Kari, you got a guy that's been in our program now going on 4 years, and he's been on the outside looking in of playing time to this point, but I like the way that group is coming together. So that's talking about 10 guys there that I think they're still a work in progress, but a group that is making progress. So I think that was critical that's going to be critical to our success, the development of that group, and that's why I figured I'd highlight them today.
Just anybody from that safety nickel room that might help out at corner or be a depth piece at least?
That's a really good question. I think Bryant would be the one, and then there's an order the way the dominoes would fall that isn't specifically relative to the depth chart, meaning Caden Dollar can play all three spots back there. I know Taden probably can play all three spots, and what does that mean for if we have a situation where someone goes down? But I think Bryant would be the one. I know Taden certainly has the ability to, but you think about in a year, we haven't played more than three guys. So, for me to come out here and say, okay, we got these four guys that we feel good about, I think that's definitely where we're starting.
What's the state of the quarterback battle right now?
Well, I think it's a battle. I think that's, finishing this week with all the work that we have, and then a scrimmage, I think will be critical. Both Chance and Patrick, I think, have in some ways picked up where they left off, but they're not there yet. And Justin, for a guy that just joined us back at the beginning of the summer, he's not necessarily in midseason form by any means, but he worked real hard this summer to learn the offense, to have that not be a barrier, work with his teammates, and continue to that relationship that's so important between a passer and a ball catcher. So excited for all three of those guys to kind of put this complete evaluation time in before we make a decision. But I could definitely see us getting to, let's say, game week, which really is puts us middle of that next week in determining who that starter is, so we can move forward.
I know you spoke about the tight ends last week, but how much have you continued to see the growth of maybe the top three guys on that group?
Yeah, I think it's continuing to happen. You got one guy that's played more, and Ryland, he's had his share of ups and downs, but very mature fourth-year guy that still has a bunch of time left because of some of the injuries he's had. Hunter played probably just as much maybe as a true freshman as he did last year, and really his step, I think, is going to come as much on the game field as anything. And then you got a young player in Rocky who, even though he hasn't played, he was dressed for one game, played on some special teams, really like the maturity that he shows for a really young player. So again, they're kind of out of these 3 different stages, but they're so similar. So the same thing would be said, that they're really excited about that collective group, relatively speaking, as opposed to any one individual.
Since we last talked, you guys have been able to go full pads, especially in the stadium last Friday. Just what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the guys thrive in those situations. You're limited to how many times you can go full pads. You're limited to how many times you can tackle. We want to limit ourselves to what can happen there too. But I think those sessions have been valuable. They've revealed some things. I think in this game you want guys that can break tackles and you want guys that can make tackles, and in the live situation bears that out. And I think offensively we have some guys that can make people miss. And that allows for more separation, say, at running back and the receivers after the catch. And then on the flip side, you're thinking about those guys on the back end. In particular, I suppose linebackers, their ability to make plays in space is revealed there. So we'll get more work between Thursday and Saturday, and that'll really be the end of that as far as tackling each other. But it has to be valuable time that's spent. So I think we have an athletic bunch. So it's defensively, it's still understanding leverage and what that means. And I think on the flip side, we got some guys that are hard to tackle. So I think the competition piece, I look at it and don't take lightly that, okay, we have good guys going against good guys, and something's got to give. And it's for the most part, I think any of our competitive situations has been a pretty good back and forth. And I think as the head coach, that's what you want to see. If fall camp is really lopsided one way or the other, that's not the type of complementary team that we want to be.
Kind of just spoke about it there a little bit, but about halfway through fall camp, what is special or stands out just about this team?
I think it's hunger right now is probably the thing I would go to. Meaning, we have I think more guys than people think that have become established. We have this next layer of guys that have played a little bit that need to become established, and we have some guys that need to play for the first time. So I think everybody's chasing a higher role, I guess. And when you have that, there's no room for complacency. I do think our leadership's continuing to emerge on this team, and that's what we need to work on. And I know we have some young players, some second-year guys, even a few first-year guys that are really, up. They're lifting our view of them, I guess. So it creates a deeper team, a couple weeks in.
In terms of O-line and I guess just getting the best 5 out there, how are you feeling about that group and I guess where that stands right now?
Yeah. Well, I know the 3 guys that have played more significantly, Titan, Burke, and JT, are figuring into that. I know Cedric would be the next one as far as playing experience. He's figuring into that. I think Everett Carr is a guy that we continue to see his growth last year. He's factoring in Braden Zimmer, for sure. So I think those 6 guys and how that would all play out is probably where we would start today. I know there's still a couple guys that with a strong week will ideally, beyond be knocking on the door, they'll get their foot in the door. So continued competition, not only in that kind of 1 through 5, 1 through 6, but then also what does 7 through 10 look like to really sort it out. So in any given year you could end up with all kinds of different combinations, and we've been working at that. I work with guys at multiple positions so that we can ultimately get the best 5 out there to start, but then if something happens we can maybe shuffle the deck and get the next best 5 out there, maybe in a little bit different form.